Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy,
invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy,
building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 78. Hi, this is Wendy Williams, and marriage happiness is way possible. ConnectAgain.org is very happy to sponsor Mighty Married Moms. We are partners in bringing you closer to the life you really want. Visit us today for marriage boosts at ConnectAgain.org.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms. Today we are going to have a discussion about our amazing interview with Amy Ahlers. She has several books. She's a life coach, and she deals with reforming the inner critic in your head, that inner mean girl, and finding your inner wisdom instead. And we got tons of great takeaways. I mean, what do you guys think about this?
Oh, one of my favorite things that she said was, of all the mean girls in the world that we've ever experienced, we have the worst one, the most mean one, living right inside of our minds, talking in my own ear. And I was like, oh, that just stabbed me in the heart. Yeah. It really did. Because I recognized it. I'm like, oh, yeah.
All those mean kids that we saw when we were in middle school, which we all know is a disaster. We should just jump from elementary school to high school.
Don't you wish you didn't have to go through that phase?
Right.
Yeah, but, all those mean girls, they don't hold a candle to the one that very often lives inside our own heads. Yeah. I love the archetype idea that she has, and she's creted, what did she say? 12, 13, something like that.
Yeah. 13, you're right.
13 different archetypes, and they're different types of voices that you hear inside your head. You know, there's what were a couple of the ones she said?
I wish I'd written them down in terms of their funny names.
Rational Ruth was definitely a funny name that I wrote down. That was great.
Yeah.
And so there are just these different personalities that we take on inside our heads, and the good girl.
The good girl, which is something which I thought was really interesting, because she said there are more subtle archetypes that you don't necessarily think are being mean girls, but when you're a good girl and you have to obey and listen and do things, even if maybe it doesn't feel right for you, I say yes, yeah, sure, I'll do it, yeah. Even if you know deep down your voice of wisdom is saying, that's not really a good choice for you, that's going to make you stressed out, but you say yes anyway because you want to please everyone.
Right.
That's actually a mean girl archetype,
that's kind of subtly just hitting you with that whip. Keep going, keep going.
Yeah, it's preventing you from being successful and happy.
Right.
Rested,
yes.
Yes. Mindful.
Yes. Mindful. No, we keep coming back to that, don't we?
We always do. Yep.
But I have to say that one of the things you said in the very beginning is that women are we're increasingly getting more and more things on our plate as the women's movement has happened, right? We want to be able to be in the workplace, make equal pay. We want to have the same opportunities. So we've had all this stuff added on, but we haven't had a lot taken away. And there's a paradox of the declining female happiness that we're actually not. We're not happy. It doesn't make us happy, and we're not as happy as we used to be.
Do you remember the name of that study?
Yeah, I wrote it. It is the paradox of declining female happiness. So I definitely need to look that up.
We have to look that up. It's, scientifically based that, all these things, our money's going up, our income's going up, our responsibilities are going up, we're breaking through some of the glass ceilings, we're, Sheryl Sanders of the world, but yet the happiness factor is going the other way.
Which doesn't seem to make sense, except for the fact that we just have so many more responsibilities, and as you say, just more stuff on our plates.
Right. It reminds me of my last two jobs, which was like, here's more. And so by the time I left those jobs, I was doing 2 or 3 40-hour-a-week jobs by myself for the 40 hours, or quote unquote, and exhausted, and there was no extra compensation or extra vacation time or anything. It was just an expectation, and I'm not the only one that's singing off that song page. Many people talk like that.
To be fair, it's not just women who deal with that.
No,
in today's economy,
totally.
It's men too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we do. We all have a lot more on our plates. Maybe men are feeling less satisfied with their lives and dealing with their own inner critics.
Right. But the thing for women is that still in the home, women are typically the CEO, if you will, of their home. Women are typically running the household. They're still doing all those things. So even if men are having the same experiences at work or, more pressure, they're still not coming home in the same way that women do.
It's different.
And they're not fully in charge. Not that they're not engaged or they don't participate. They do for sure, but we're definitely
we still
running
feel
the
that
show.
burden.
It's just a natural... It's just natural.
It's
we
just
just
different.
do, right?
Yeah.
I know a friend of mine, she coaches soccer, and she said, she's the only mom coach. Everybody else is dads, right? And she said, I get it. I get why moms don't coach, because the dads come and they're fully there as a soccer coach because they don't have to think about, oh, my 3 other kids, okay, do they have a ride to this place, and does that one have a ride to that place, and who's going to pick that one up, and
who's going to get supper?
Who's going to get supper together, right there? None of that's in their brain, right?
No.
But she's got all that stuff going on, and she's got to run there and do the practice. And I thought, yeah, it's really interesting. So true, right, from what we were talking about with Amy.
Yes, yes, and that's the other thing that she pointed out. It's not just about the external things that create a life of
Yes.
happiness and fulfillment. It's the internal things that allow us to be our very best selves, that allow us to connect with our family members and our friends that we care about. And so it's all that internal stuff. It's not the external things that we think are so important.
Right.
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 And I think that's probably the message of that study is that, okay, we got what we wanted, but
So what?
we didn't get what we wanted.
Careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for, because it's no happier.
It's not making
It reminds me of another study that's about something, maybe it's called the happiness factor or something, where there's, I think it's up to $55,000 a year income in a home, or maybe on an individual basis. People are at their max of happiness, and $56,000 up to $7 million a year. There's no difference in increase in happiness.
Right, I remember reading that too.
Isn't?
Yeah, it's on the new, they talk about it in the movie Happy. There's a documentary done on what
okay.
makes people happy. And they said from zero, if you're living on the streets and you're homeless, you're not very, it's hard to be happy when your basic needs are not
aren't
met.
right.
But up to $50,000 a year, there's a big change in how happy you are, because at $50,000 a year you can have your basic needs met and maybe then some. But from $50,000 to $500 million or whatever, there's statistically no change in the level of happiness. So, and Amy was talking about that too. That adding on, and we got what we asked for. But it's the external things are not the things that make you happy. Happiness has to come from within, which we've heard, and it sounds so cliche, but it's not. I guess it's cliche because we keep saying it over and over again because it's the truth.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's so helpful.
Yeah.
And one of the first things that she talked about was the fact that Amy Ahlers mentioned was the fact that about the age. We come to this naturally. This isn't some sort of what's the word, waspy, or some sort of like cultural bias that we have, that our brains actually come to this quite naturally. At age 6 or 7, the inner critic, I don't know if that's what the neurologists call it, develops. But there is, like she said, my 2-year-old's not running around going, oh, I'm such a bad 2-year-old. They're like, woo, enjoying life. But around 6 or 7, there can be some self-flagellation that begins to show up. And it's because the brain has a negativity bias that's been proven over and over again in studies. And, the 3 of us have studied this too, is that the amygdala, where the fear base is, the fight or flight or freeze area, is very well developed, and it's always on the lookout for the saber-toothed tiger. Well, the problem is that there aren't that many saber-toothed tigers in North America, typically, that are going to come out and charge us. But our bodies, when under stress, under fear, naturally go to the most important thing right now is to save your life and to hold on to that negative stuff. And so it becomes incorporated in this self-talk that isn't useful or helpful or real.
Right,
and that's
it's a safety mechanism. It's a survival mechanism, and there are people who do live in a state of constant worry for their survival. There are, but or safety,
and they should,
because of domestic situations or whatever might be going on. But most of us are not living in that constant state anymore, and so we need to find some way to turn off that negative voice. And
she told us how to do it.
So that was my segue. Go for it.
Did you? Is that what you're going to Yes. She gave us this 3-step
Wake-up
call, which is just so brilliant. I'll do step 1, you do 2, and you do 3. How's that? All right. So step 1 is identify the negative emotion and the self-talk that you're stating. For me, it's sort of oh, you're never gonna have the kind of career that you think you do. You think you're all that in a bag of chips, Wendy. You're not. You really are not. You're just an average Joe Schmo. There's no reason for you to excel in this particular area. So I go, you're absolutely right. I'm ridiculous to even go down that path. So she said, let that voice go for it. Just let myself think all those negative thoughts, scream them, talk about them, write them down, whatever I need to do. Let that voice go, yeah, you are an idiot, Wendy. You're completely out of your mind, blah, blah, blah. And just really let that voice have at it and just get it out. Step 2?
And step 2, then once you've gotten that out, once you feel exhausted, you know how you do when you scream and yell and
Have a tantrum, basically.
And have a tantrum, basically. I found it easy or a good thing to hit something while doing that, like a pillow or something, like while you're yelling.
Yeah. A good choice.
Person. Hit a pillow or just something safe and easy. Just so it's a physical thing. It's a physical thing. You're yelling. It's a physical thing. And when you're exhausted, take a deep breath. Close your eyes and allow and think about what comes to your mind now. How do you feel? What are the words coming into your mind after you've exhausted yourself of the negative part, and listen to that wisdom and allow that voice to speak up. And because we are so wise deep down, we just don't take time to be quiet and listen, because you have to take time to be quiet to listen to that inner wisdom. It's easy to listen to the critic, because the critic is very present when we're thinking from the neck up, when we're busy, running, and on all the time. You have to be quiet to take a deep breath, to have that inner wisdom show up.
And then step 3 is to connect to some sort of physical act or place on your body. Could be touching, your chest or your heart, or, it could be actually, and this is actually a good one. I learned this from Mark Waldman. Yeah, if you very gently tickle the side of your arm, that is a soothing thing that you can do. And so that might be a good anchor for this. And so what you do then is you tell yourself something calm and say, it's okay, honey, it's going to be okay. You're talking to yourself. It's going to be okay. I'm all right. I'm good at this. I know how to do this. Everything's going to be fine. And so if you anchor those positive thoughts after you've calmed yourself down. How many times have we talked about calming yourself down in this show?
A million.
A million. So after you calm yourself down, after your negative thoughts have had their way, then you allow yourself to have the inner voice, the inner wisdom that is more truthful. And she pointed out that it's not necessarily always positive.
Right.
It's just more truthful than the inner critic.
And the physical piece of tapping your heart or rubbing here, it's a neurolinguistic thing, and you have to build new neural pathways, and you won't build the new neural pathways without that physical shift. Yeah. It's the physical piece that allows you to shift.
It's really
because we have so much help available to us in our bodies that we're just not used to. That's part of why yoga is such a wonderful thing for so many people. They really, or deep breathing, relieving stress through diaphragmatic breathing. All these things really have a role, have a place, and that, just like you said, that
changes the chemistry of your body.
Correct.
Literally. And when you change the chemistry of your body, you change the chemistry of your brain. And it works the other way around too. When you change the chemistry of your brain, you change the chemistry of your body. So they're absolutely interconnected.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's why it's really, really important to do that. Mm-hmm. And
she said, once you have that anchor down, you could be in a meeting, with your corporate people, and just kind of stroke your arm and go, whatever the inner critic's going off, and you can say, maybe I can challenge that thought, maybe it's not completely true, and just begin, and that neural pathway that Linda spoke about that's been established, you can reconnect to it without having to go through screaming.
Yeah. You have to scream in your office?
No, you don't. No.
And I'm going to add a little bit too to what Wendy said earlier, and that's what Amy taught us, is the writing down, by allowing that inner critic just to let it go. Mark Waldman has also taught that, and he's gathered this from a lot of studies, that it's really, really beneficial to just put all your negative stuff down. Write it down, physically write it down, put it down, and then they found out that the best thing for your brain to let it go isn't to crumple it up or to put it, throw it in the fire or something like that. It's actually to put it in a drawer. So your brain knows that it's still there. It no longer has to worry about it. Mm-hmm. It's down, it's taken care of, and you can move on. Mm-hmm. And whatever the reason is for that, it's a neural wisdom tip that he shares. Yep. But if you write it down and you put it away in the drawer, just leave it there. Your brain says, "Oh, okay, we're all done. I can move on."
Isn't that fascinating?
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
As opposed to killing it off because it's a bad part of you. That's what did she say? Whatever we resist persists.
Yep.
Which is a very common, that's common wisdom out there that I'm sure.
Children too.
Yes. So if we resist it by crumpling it up or throwing it in the fire, it still has a hold somehow. Yeah. Whereas just neutralizing it by just going, it's not neither positive nor negative. It's just out of the way.
Yeah.
Gives it.
And then replace it with that inner wisdom voice, which is what Amy was sharing with us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Totally good stuff.
Yeah.
Totally good stuff. Mm-hmm. And she's got a quiz that we could take if you want to know which archetype we are.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as we shut this off, go to innermeangirlquiz.com and you take the quiz, and they will send you a report saying, well, looks like you're, whatever, data Dora or whatever it is, data-driven Dora or whatever it's going to be. And and they'll also give you something called the Instant Deactivator, how to make that inner mean girl sit down and have her proper place in your life as opposed to the biggest part on the inside of your head. So I can't wait to...
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And she said she'd come back, right?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
She did. Lots more to go over on that one.
Lots more to talk to her about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, be sure to find Amy Ahlers at innermeangirl.com and go get her books and say hi to her. I'm sure she has I think she has Facebook there somewhere too. Make sure you say hi to her, say hi that you found out about her through us, which would be great. And thank you for being with us today. We are, again, the Mighty Married Moms. I'm Debbie Owen.
Wendy Williams.
Linda Tighe.
And we will look forward to seeing you next time. Please leave us a rating and review on iTunes. And share us with your family and friends. That would be terrific. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.